Well, a very, very, very happy Wednesday and welcome back to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is April 22nd of 2026. Want to welcome everybody in here and we're halfway through the week. And I don't want to lie to you guys. Not really prepared for this. But I have a couple of conversations that we're going to get to today, but I'm just honestly my preparation is kind of scattered. So we're going to go through it as we go through this hour. I do apologize, but for everyone tuning us in on our YouTube channel, hi, thank you guys for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Make sure that you have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. Also, if you guys are watching us here on our Facebook page, thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome, like, share with a friend, get a part of our conversations with these sports programs. All right. Whether it's the Reds playing, how do you think about the Reds? Are they playing good baseball or are they not? And I want to hear from you. All right. What is a top sports story that you guys have heading into this week? Okay, let's talk about that here on our show. And is there anything that you take away still from WrestleMania 42 as we continue to talk about that? A heavy conversation this week here. And I do want to focus in on one story to kick off this program. Okay. So we'll talk about this one story. I have a couple other matches, like I said, going through it, but we will give you the rundown spiel of the Reds as they go for the sweep later on this afternoon. We'll take a look at what's going on around the National League Central and the Cincinnati Bearcats, who took on Wright State yesterday. But let's talk about what's going on with the one of the biggest conversations that are still talked about to this day, 3 days after WrestleMania 42. And it comes at the hands of Brock Lesnar. Now, Brock Lesnar faced Obafemi in night two to kick things off. And there was, after the match, he lost, and there was a indication that he may be leading into retirement. He took off his boots, he took off his gloves, let them in the ring, and had a heartfelt moment with the WWE Universe, if indicating that he is no longer competing in professional wrestling. Now, in many incidents, usually it's a honorary tribute for somebody who kicks off when you leave your gear in the ring. You're retired. You're done. You're at the age and you no moss. Not Randy Orton. AJ Styles did it earlier this year. John Cena had built up leading into it last year. Goldberg did it, or retired and walked away. We've seen guys like Triple H who have came out and left their boots in the ring. So it is a common trend. Not all wrestlers do it, but we have seen it happen. There are also other incidents where we've seen people come out, announce their retirement, only to come out, make their appearance in years to come. The Undertaker was one who thought, at least at the time, that he was done and he gave us all he had to offer in professional wrestling. But the question, but he did end up returning. So the question is asked after this weekend: is Brock Lesnar officially done with professional wrestling? Has he retired, hung up the boots? We no longer see him. He is done. And it's still such an emotional part of wrestling fans, even 3 days after WrestleMania, that we are still talking about it today. And the reason why we are specifically talking about it is because could you have seen Brock Lesnar retire at WrestleMania 42? It was announced over the weekend that SummerSlam on August 1st and August 2nd is going to take place at in Minnesota, the home of Brock Lesnar. And then now there is conversation that when it comes to next year's WrestleMania taking place in Saudi Arabia, usually money brings people out of retirement. And when you think of these two dates possibly being suitable or invitational for Brock Lesnar, you ask yourself, well, was the symbol of his actions on Sunday true to what is represented after doing that? Or is there a good possibility that we see Brock Lesnar at least one more time? I haven't seen a wrestler retire at SummerSlam before. Hell, up until January, I haven't seen anyone retire at the Royal Rumble despite doing due to injuries. But Brock Lesnar is such a decorated person. He's accomplished almost anything and everything that you could wish to accomplish, not just within the WWE, but outside the WWE. And, no questions asked, no argument there to make. He is a first ballot Hall of Fame. And if he is retired, you've walked off into the sunset. There's a couple of notes that I kind of think back. If WrestleMania 42 is his last match, he has given back to the WWE. He has allowed other talent to make a name for themselves through his matches that he's been involved in. He has been a part of multiple main event matches. He's led things off. He is a staple to what WWE is about. He's laid down this beast. There is nothing more that Brock Lesnar can do. That Brock Lesnar could say. There's no championships that he could win. There's no I don't there's very, very, very few opponents that Brock Lesnar could honestly face moving forward. And so if the perspective is that he's retired at WrestleMania 42, he's done everything there can. He has given a young, talented athlete, Obafemi, the spotlight, the passion of the torch. We know as WWE fans that not only Obafemi fits the bill, that the WWE is in good hands with a new beast. So I relate this back to the conversation or to a topic that it's kind of gotten washed, that we don't really see much this, therefore moving on. And for a while, we were asking ourselves, as the as the Attitude Era, as the ruthless aggression era was coming to an end, and we saw those talents retire, who, in the right mind, would be representing and replacing those quote unquote personas. And so the question of, all right, who's your next Undertaker? Who's your next Triple H? Who's your next John Cena? In a character format, in a persona format, that was being asked. And it was like, all right, where does Seth Rollins fit the bill? Where does Roman Reigns fit the bill? Does Bray Wyatt was the next Undertaker? We see, you know, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, the next Shawn Michaels. We see who's the next John Cena, who's the next CM Punk. And now you come to the point, well, who's the next Brock Lesnar? There is not a single person on that roster that has grown with the WWE over time, has quickly made a fame for himself early on in his main roster career, other than Oba Fett. And so if you ended a career as declarated as it is or has been for Brock Lesnar. Going out, wouldn't you want to be able to find someone that you could pass the torch to? And I praise a lot about Oba Fett. Matter of fact, the way that WrestleMania 42 2 went down between Oba and Brock indicated not only he is the new beast, but indications that he should be 10 times better than what everyone else has gone through. Sure, he's not the only one who's beaten Brock Lesnar. Everyone has been able to conquer Brock Lesnar. Sure, given, but not at the hands and at the pace and at the physicality that Obafemi was able to do so. Other than Goldberg, no one has been able to go in a match with Brock Lesnar and walk out under 5 minutes victorious, right? So we praise a lot with Obafemi. But if Brock Lesnar is set to retire, then what stops him? WWE will be fine without him. We have a new beast already involved. So what's next? The other side of this conversation is who is out there if Brock has a few more matches. Who is out there that could that's worthy enough for Brock to come out of retirement to challenge? Like we mentioned, 2 dates are on the calendar in the upcoming year. One of them is being SummerSlam in Minnesota, where it would only feel right that Brock Lesnar comes out of retirement to face somebody. A lot of names speculate that it could be Gunther, for example. And it wouldn't be a bad match if we would see Gunther and Brock Lesnar. Matter of fact, I'll be looking forward to it. But we don't want to toy with the idea that someone has been retired and has came back and retired again and has came back. And if the money's right, could WWE bring Brock Lesnar back at Saudi Arabia? And look, this is where anything can happen. So those are the 2 days that we're going to be keeping just the ounce of the possibility in the back of our minds that Brock Lesnar could come back. Regardless, this is the indication that Brock Lesnar is at least done for WrestleMania in the States. If he's not retired yet, which we have not heard from Brock Lesnar, there's been no other report which leads to speculations since then. And if you're Brock Lesnar, you have Obafemi beat you in under 5 minutes. You got to question yourself. Do you still have what it takes as a beast incarnate to be able to dominate WWE? Someone bigger, younger, powerful you has already demonstrated that they can do that. But what we look for now is who? Let's take a look at Gunther, for example. Yeah, that would be great. But Gunther, for me, no longer fits the bill as someone to officially retire Brock Lesnar. Somewhere in my mind, WrestleMania 42 is going to ink the image that Brock Lesnar is no longer competing. He's no longer on the trucks, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's even on the roster. But let's look that up. We're gonna go to the roster, and we should see Brock Lesnar. We do. Well, wait. We do. We see him here. See him on the active roster. Current superstars, Brock Lesnar. I do not want to jump to speculations. I don't want to build hype for Brock Lesnar if he doesn't return. I think WrestleMania 42 is an indication that in the States, because WrestleMania is going to be outside the States, outside the country next year, I don't want to hold on the expectation that we will see Brock Lesnar in the country at WrestleMania again. I feel like this is the mark where Brock Lesnar, hey, I'm winding down. WrestleMania is once a year. I'm not gonna go that. If I personally believe that Minneapolis would be a great location for Brock Lesnar to have his final match. With who? I don't know. Like I said, there's very few. I have three opponents on my list that if Brock Lesnar comes back and says, "Hey, I'm going to have another match," which he's more than valid to do so, that I could see him face. The first one is Gunther. Gunther is owed a favor by Paul Heyman. I'm assuming that's going to be a championship at a later date, and that's what I would honestly proclaim, unless he wants to be Brock Lesnar's official last opponent. But I say Gunther is one. You could have, I guess four because you could have a rematch with Obafemi. Matter of fact, this could be a three-match series, which at SummerSlam, he picks up a victory over Obafemi, making that comeback. And then at WrestleMania, they add off. Maybe it's a one-on-one. But then that to me is a whole other conversation. Braun Breaker, who could use an elevation in a match with Brock Lesnar, or Royce Keys, who has the physical strength, who is dominant. It could be an entity of, even if he loses, just being in the presence in a match and be able to last any time in the ring with Brock Lesnar. It's good for business. What I don't want to see happen is Brock Lesnar retire, come back, just like guys like Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan or these other ones that decide, hey, we're gonna, retire officially and then come back unannounced. It doesn't do me any good as a fan. I want to remember you. I even didn't like when The Undertaker retired, came back. I felt The Undertaker should have retired years before he actually did. I appreciated every WrestleMania thereon after that he partaked, but you could tell just his in-ring ability was not the same. And what that ends up doing is that you're manipulating and toying with our emotions, our fan base, leading us to disbelief, tarnishing a career that's been really so well put together in decades. So there's a couple of ways you could look at this. Brock Lesnar could have retired at WrestleMania 42. He rides off into the sunset. We won't see him again. And that's it. Leave it at that. I'm heartfelt. I love Brock Lesnar now. Going to the Hall of Fame next year, and let's enjoy a retirement career because you have entertained me for the past 20 plus years. Or he has a few opportunities coming up here in specific dates that would benefit him. If there is a storyline, if there is a person that makes logical sense that could benefit facing him again, then let's bring him back. Let's go to another dance. But I think that there's a clear indication, and I am almost, if not certain, that we will not see Brock Lesnar at another WrestleMania inside the country. Now, what took place in Vegas is the last time you see WrestleMania Brock Lesnar inside the country. So that's my question. I have it on Facebook. Answer it. Is Brock Lesnar officially retired or will we see him again? Let me know in the comments. All right. I'm going to transition here. I get my mouse accordingly. So back yesterday, we saw Cincinnati Reds. And I don't know what it is about this series against the Rays. The Rays come in with second place. They're 12-9 entering in. And there's just something. The Bats woken up another 10-game hit for the Redlegs. They put up 12 runs in a 12-6 victory last night in Tampa Bay. And there's a part of me where I can sit back and just feel comfortable. We're not going to lose a series. We have not lost a series yet. I'm not trying to toot my own horn by saying that, but we have either split a series or won every series. Well, matter of fact, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that because we did lose the first series of the season uh, against the Red Sox, right? We've been playing really good baseball. Pop up their schedule here real quick so we can look at it. Yeah, then they lose. They They won the first series. They lost the second series against the Pirates. So let me correct myself. But since then, they haven't lost a series, and they also yet to lose on the road. That is a well, they lost two on the road. No, they have lost on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 2 on the road, and they're going into this series looking for a sweep. They have tomorrow off. They will be back on Friday to host the Tigers. It's going to be a special weekend, by the way. You got not only the City Connect uniforms, black on black, red on red. You also got the Hall of Fame ceremony that we'll talk about on Friday. Then they'll have Monday off and they'll host the Colorado Rockies in a 3-game series to end off the month of May. But we talk about just how good the Reds are playing. Dela Cruz hit 2 home runs, one in the first inning off of Steven Matz, one in the ninth inning off of Williamson. Hayes hit a home run. Myers hit a home run. And Steer hit a home run. So the long ball was flying in Tampa yesterday. Myers had 3 walks. He was 1 for 3. 4 runs scored in that game. McLean 2 for 6. 3 for 6, Ellie Dela Cruz. Sal Stewart 2 for 4. Suarez is one of the top people that just have not performed so well yesterday. That's okay, because everyone else around him is playing really good baseball. Chase Burns went 5 2/3 of an inning, only giving up 2 hits and 4 hits on 2 runs, walked 2 batters, and only struck out 8, allowed 1 home run, which was great. Emilio Pagan, Pierce Johnson getting a chance, Tony Santillan getting a chance to rest and not have overworked and workloads. And so because of that, we won the series. It feels good. Can't help but to look at this standing right now, where we have a game and a half lead over the Cubs, who are 14-9, tied with the Cardinals. Pittsburgh lost yesterday. We'll get to that in a moment. Milwaukee won. They're in 4th place. But we are currently leading. And like I said, I know it's only April, but it's feel good. Feel good baseball that gets fans wanting to come out to the stadium. getting fans wanting to tune into the WLW 700 or wanting to purchase the 99.99 subscription of Reds TV. It's feel good. They're on a 5-game winning streak. Okay, they have currently they currently have scored 96 runs compared to the 93 runs they have allowed. So now they have a 3-point differential, which is always good to see. They moved to 10-2 on the road. They are 6-6 at home, and they are. It says they are 1-2 against 500 better teams. I don't believe that. I want to look at that for a second. Against teams with winning records, okay? That's everyone in the Central. 2. See, Minnesota was on a winning record at the time. They still do have a winning record. So 2, that's 5-0. Giants did not have a winning record. No. Angels had a winning record, so that's 6-2. Did the Marlins have a winning record at the time? I think they're playing pretty well against winning teams. So greater than 500. Really don't understand that quite yet. Maybe that's just they don't count that quite yet. I don't know how many games they count that is. But they are 8-2 in the last 10 games. Turn things around. Like I said, heading into an opportunity for the sweep here today as they get ready to take on the Rays at 110. Let's get into that. Let's get you prepped up for today's ball game here. First pitch is scheduled for 110 as the Reds are coming into this game with a 16-8 record. They are first in the NL Central as the Rays enter in with a 12-11 record, second in the AL East. Brandon Williamson, left-handed pitcher, will be on the mound for the Reds. Brandon is 2-1 with a 4.35 ERA and 12 strikeouts. In his last outing, Brandon pitched for 5 1/3 of an inning, giving up 3 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. The Reds will see former right-handed pitcher, former Reds, Nick Martinez. He's 0-1 with a 2.45 ERA with 14 strikeouts. His last game was back on the 17th, which was last Friday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He pitched 5 1/3 of an inning, giving up 8 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. You can watch this game on Reds TV or listen to it on WLW. The lineups are already set by Terry Francona. All this information is subject to change, but leading off, batting first in center field is TJ Friedl. Batting second at second base is Matt McClain. Ali Dela Cruz batting third at shortstop. Sal Stewart will be batting cleanup at first base. Gino Suarez batting fifth at third base. Designated hitter batting sixth, Nathaniel Lowe. Batting seventh in left field, Spencer Steele. Will Benson will be batting eighth in right field, and the catcher behind the plate will be PJ Higgins. He'll be batting ninth. One thing I look at this lineup, and the only thing I question about this lineup is Ellie De La Cruz, Gino Suarez has not had a game off. Stewart leads the team, or is tied with Ellie De La Cruz with 8 home runs. Suarez with 3. Stewart with 24 RBIs. He's kind of keeping up his numbers with Cruz and 6 stolen bases this far this season. So we have a chance to go for a sweep. Let's go for a sweep. Let's get back home. Let's enjoy the weekend. That is your Cincinnati Reds. Let's take a look at what's going on in the National League. Yesterday's ball games. The Cardinals beat the Marlins 5-3. Brew Crew beat the Tigers 12-4. And the Phillies lost to the Cubs beat the Phillies 7-4, and the Pirates lost to the Rangers 5-1. Coming up today, currently inactive in the second inning. You have the Marlins and Cardinals underway, followed by a 1:10 pitch time between the Reds and the Rays. We have a 6:40 start time between Milwaukee and Detroit. The Cubs and the Phillies at 7:40, and the Pirates and Rangers at 8:05. The Reds will have tomorrow travel day as they head back home. Let's head over to our our Cincinnati Bearcats as we see how they handled business yesterday against Wright State. So Wright State came back in the series or in the game. It was just too much for the Bengals to hold on to. The Bengals move. They end up losing to Wright State. Get down to the score. End up losing 12-7 final score in yesterday's ball game. Bearcats moved to 27-16 with a 8-10 conference play. 1 game losing streak. They moved to 15-5 at home, 11-11 on the road, and 1-0 at neutral sites. They get ready for a 3-game series beginning this weekend at UC Baseball Stadium as they welcome in West Virginia. We'll begin on Friday, first pitch at 6 p.m. We'll get you more coverage later this week. Big 12 action play here for the Bearcats. What is going on? What's the top stories? Also heard that Nick Lodolo will be making a start after being injured due to a blister on his finger this Sunday in High A Dayton Dragons. So good progress for the Cincinnati Reds as we look to hopefully bring back um hopefully look to bring back the Nick Lodolo in the mix. It's going to be a tough question on how the Reds are going to approach this if and when Nick Lodolo comes back. Do they keep it to a 6-man rotation? Do they pull someone to the bullpen? Or do they send someone down to AAA? And if so, who would they bring down to AAA? Good article I saw here on MLB.com. It was written in by Mark Finsan. Mariano Rivera basically has questioned the the importance of a closer and have deteriorated from the traditional closer. And it starts off by saying Mariano Rivera has built his Hall of Fame resume with nearly 2 decades of dominant work. The vast majority is coming in the ninth inning. The Yankees closer recorded 652 saves in the legendary career, establishing the major league record that is likely to stand for years to come. But what if Rivera's was breaking into the major leagues today? Would he have had the same opportunities to pile up that impressive save total? Based on the way many clubs utilize their best relief arms these days, it seems unlikely. Look, um, I am a fan of the traditional closer. I think it's a rare skill to have, being able today to count on one pitcher only to be designed to come in the night. Let me ask you this question. Where so I say this, um, and I guess call me old school for this because I when I'm playing, like, for example, my MLB The Show franchise game. Emilio Pagan is my closer. I try to focus on every opportunity I can for Emilio Pagan to go out there. And if he blows games, he blows games. But I don't have the strategy unless he's pitched for consecutive games to have the opportunity to close in the fourth game. I won't throw someone else in there. Now, do I have a backup person that I think would fit well in the ninth inning? Yeah, that's Tony Santian. But I don't swap them out. I don't have that equal mix. And so I do rely on Emilio Pagan. I think for the Red situation, it's important to have multiple people able to take on that scenario in those critical parts of the game. But it's also important to keep them active throughout the game. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of games where you either are going to lose or you're going to win by a lot of runs. For example, the Reds have won the last two games by putting up at least 4+ runs. So the save opportunity is not there. When you think of it, this is a perfect time for your closer to get some rest. Okay. That's great. Not wanting to overwork them. Sure, I get that. But at the same time, I feel that you got to keep them fresh and keep them active. So you will see Terry Francona make sure that he's pitching in the upcoming game, regardless if it's a save opportunity. Now, for me, I'd put them in the ninth inning regardless. But what we've seen, especially in the playoffs here in recent years, is even your closers will come in and at least lock down the seventh or the eighth inning. Maybe it's more focused on pitching matchups, who's coming in and who's in the lineup at that time. If you don't want to send Pagan out there for the seventh, eighth, ninth hole, knowing that the inning prior you'd have to deal with the 3-4-5 or the 4-5-6. So would it be beneficial to send your best reliever out in the eighth to lock down the core of the lineup and then bounce off of somebody else in the ninth, or top out as your second best? And it's just the strategy of the game. In this article, it says that the traditional closer role has disappeared altogether. San Diego's Mason Miller has been the best reliever in the game, and each of his first 11 appearances this season has came either in a save situation or in the ninth inning of tie games. Miller, David Bednar, Yohan Duran, Aroldis Chapman, Jordan Romano, and Devin Williams are the only pitchers who have respectfully teams that have earned the save in 2026 as their clubs continue to employ a conventional ninth inning mentality. So those pitchers are the only pitchers among this squad that has been reserved for the closing situation. The other 24 teams, for some of them, their bullpen usage has been anything but traditional. Through the first 23 games of the season, 86 pitchers have earned at least one save, and the highest total in any season since 2000. The next closest total to any season came in 2022, where 77 pitchers had earned at least one save throughout the year. The change in the bullpen usage by most teams has hardly a fad. It's been trending in its direction to the past several seasons. Last season, 8 teams had at least 6 pitchers and multiple saves, matching the total number of teams that distinct between 2000 and 2017. The Diamondbacks led the way with 9 multi-save relievers, while a total of 17 Arizona pitchers earned at least one save, both of those establishing a new big league record. Injury certainly played a part for those figures. So the bottom line is that today's game is more of a strategy. I tend to liking those save opportunities. When I look at a ball club and I look at a team who the first thing I ask when it looks comes to the bullpen, who is your designated your closer, and who is your two setup guy? I don't care if your closer is right-handed, left-handed. He's your best player in division in critical situations. Comes into the ninth to lock down the game. And this also means that your two setup guys primarily focus on the eighth inning, a situational righty lefty. I usually, like for example, in MLB The Show franchise mode, I have Caleb Ferguson, my situation person, in the eighth as a lefty. Tony Santion as my right-handed person, and then everyone else is kind of designated for the seventh inning, depending on what the score is, and then if someone's tired. So I usually go based off of that line. So when I look at the Reds in this organization, Emilio Pagan, I say he closes. Sure, if that means you got to pitch 3 days in a row, there's going to be times where you pitch 3 days in a row. There's going to be times where you only pitch one day out of the entire, week. So that's important to know and to understand. But that's how I also feel like that's the case. Then our bullpens aren't as strong as they used to be. That's something that we have to be able to fix. Otani advances as he has hit his number 52nd consecutive game of get on base. And I was watching the Dodgers game in Colorado, and I'm not used to seeing the Dodgers wear blue jerseys as an alternative option. I know it's a rare thing, something that they traditionally come into a little bit more these days. But then I saw an article on MLB by Thomas Harrigan that the New York Yankees uniform has remained largely unchanged. It's usually just been pinstripes at home, top and bottom, and then pinstripes at the bottom. And then on the road, it's just gray. The Yankees uniform is set to remain unchanged, aside from a few minor alterations as much as the franchise history. In New Jersey could be joining the rotation. According to a report from the Athletics, Yankees players recently pitched higher ups on adding an alternative jersey to the mix for the first time. Players suggested that the club should start wearing a Navy batting practice jersey during occasional road games, in place of the classic road gray jersey. The batting practice tops will feature the New York across the chest with gray letters and number of white trim, having the frequent choice during spring training, but would have not been worn outside the exposition schedule. Like I said, it's for me, I've only seen the Yankees wear gray or wear white. So as the Dodgers, I'm not imposed. I'm not, disagreeing with it. I think it'd be cool to see what the Yankees could come up with, for this situation. Franchise did wear Navy road uniforms during the early years as the New York Highlanders, starting in 1903. But for most of their history, the Bronx have stuck to some variations of two primary looks, the white and the navy pinstripes at home and gray on the road. So the Yankees could be seeing in the future some new uniforms. Gotta get to the next one here real quick. Alrighty, here is a playoff update for the NBA. Yesterday, we saw the 76ers beat the Celtics 111 to 97. That series is now tied one apiece. The Trailblazers also won 106 to 103 against the Spurs. That series is now tied. Lakers beat the Rockets 101 to 94. In that series, the Lakers have a 2-0 advantage heading into game 3. Tonight, there's 2 games on the scheduled docket tonight. They will both be aired on ESPN. As at 7 o'clock, the tip-off begins between the Orlando Magic taking on the Detroit Pistons. Orlando leads 1-0, taking place at the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. At 9:30, the tip-off begins between the Phoenix Suns taking on the Oklahoma City Thunders. Oklahoma leads 1-0 in this series. Paycom Center in Oklahoma City for the night's game. Round one continues tomorrow as game three for 3 games. We'll give you that information tomorrow afternoon. We'll also head into tomorrow's conversation as the NFL draft begins. Who's going to get the first round pick and select the first round player of the 2026 draft? We will give you that coverage tomorrow in our tomorrow's episode. All right, so let me look at this real quick. We talked about. Let's see what else we're going to talk about here. Just trying to see. All right, let me get into this. We'll finish up our. All right. Really wanted to let me go ahead. We're just going to continue our WrestleMania conversations as I wanted to bring up and talk about Rhea Ripley beating Jade Cargill to become the new WWE Women's Champion. And I, first of all, I thought this match was a good match. Lasted about 10 minutes. It got in. So, hmm, I just want to think about how I want to present to you this topic, this segment. Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill, to me, were the female version of dominance when it comes to compared to Obafemi and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 42. There is not a match, a females match, not the women's world heavyweight championship, not the women's tag team championship that took presence and superior over the anticipation that we had heading into Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. This match, to me, was two dominant competitors. Jade Cargill, who we know still so decoratively what she's done outside the WWE, that I still think that that has a greater value than what she has done in the WWE this far, going up against the best of the best in the WWE accomplishments. To me, I saw, and I hate to even reference this in the WrestleMania, but I saw AEW versus WWE. I saw Sting versus Triple H. I saw CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. I saw the best woman in the AEW division taking on the best woman in the WWE women's division. That's what I saw at WrestleMania 42. To me, Jade Cargill is such a refined person. She looks the part. She walks the part. She carries herself with this sense of authority when it comes down to uh, regardless if she has a championship or not, she is someone who is not afraid to step in the ring. And she reminds me a lot of the glamorous Beth Phoenix when she first started out. and she's just dominant. Now, she hasn't truly been given an honest run, an honest feud in the WWE due to injury, due to story changes. And I've seen some feuds that I really have wanted to see. So let's not get me wrong. I feel like there could have been more out of Jade and out of Naomi. I really wanted to see, and I was really hopeful that we saw Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill. I think that is, for me, a current dream match I want to see at WrestleMania or in a major PLE. But I look at this and you're like, well, it only makes sense that Rhea Ripley this isn't a David and Goliath. These are two Goliaths who know their worth, know their value. They've dominated in their profession across many platforms. Rhea Ripley has been the definition, has been the pinnacle standpoint to the WWE Women's Division. She's held the fort down for the past several years through the Judgment Day. And she is this modern era of what Charlotte Flair has been able to put together. And these two women females stepped into the ring and we received everything that we were expected to see. I thought it was a good match. I didn't think it was the greatest match. I thought it was, to be honest, I still did think it was a better match than the Liv Morgan and Stephanie Valkyrie match. See, Liv Morgan and Stephanie Valkyrie made sense on why there was outside interference. I really hoped, the only thing that I was disappointed between Rhea and Jay that we didn't get was just an honest match. I wanted to see who was dominant, who was better than the other. We had to see BFAB. We had to see Mishin. We had to see Io Sky get involved some way, shape, or form and have the little moment outside the ring. Therefore, took me away and distracted me from what was in front of my face. And what was in front of my face was Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. Just like when we saw Triple H face Sting at WrestleMania, and we saw the NWO, we saw DX. That made sense though. This didn't quite make sense. I felt that everything needed to be left behind to honestly see who was the true winner. Besides that point, we did see a victorious in Rhea Ripley. She has reclaimed her throne, and it's ironic that we also see Liv Morgan reclaim her throne, or finally being able to claim her throne in the WWE. And so I think that Rhea Ripley being the women's champion, she's a fighting champion. We already know that. She's willing to defend the title. She's willing to compete. Now it looks like Io Sky is going to be over on Raw and Rhea Ripley is going to be over on SmackDown. And I'm fine with that because I feel like we've seen enough of them as a tag team unit. It's a clear indication that Rhea is no longer in a part of the tag team, that she has to have that single run. I think she gets the best out of it. The only reason why they kept themselves in a tag team front is to keep them active, to keep them part of the storyline, to keep them on television because people will pay and watch them compete in the ring. Sure, it's a little emotional, but this isn't a goodbye or so long. Io Sky needs to refocus and she needs to handle her business with the Kabuki Warriors. And then she also honestly needs to go after the either the women's intercontinental championship or the women's world heavyweight championship. For Jade Cargill, I don't see this as the end. I really don't see what the next storyline is for Jade Cargill at this moment. And I can see her being written off of script for just a little while as they try to figure the next thing out. For Jade Cargill, I feel like these are selective feuds. You find feuds, either David and Goliath moments or dominating moments. I think she's a really good dark heel. I think she could fit that dark heel. Maybe Jade and Charlotte Flair, Jade and Nia Jax, Jade. Maybe she takes some time off and come over to Raw. Jade and Becky Lynch. But the bottom line is that the title is rightfully back where it belongs. It belongs in Rhea Ripley's hands. And I'm more intrigued to see how she could elevate and how she could help keep up the SmackDown brand that, I'm going to be honest, has lacklustered over the years. The other thing I'm hoping to follow up on is to see, which we'll talk tomorrow, maybe if not Friday, about the United States Championship. Because I thought we were going to see a surprise match between Tiffany and um, Julia. But really, if Jordan Grace came back, I'm surprised she's not part of the mix, not triple threat. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our episode today. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Please have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be back at noon again tomorrow. And until then, thank you guys for tuning in to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Have a wonderful day. Take care.